Welcome to another episode of Streamin with a Purpose. It's time to be inspired and motivated to live your best life on purpose. On Streamin with a Purpose, hear the stories of people who have, despite the odds, dealt with the challenges that life sometimes brings, but who still manage to overcome those odds. If you think life is tough and you have to settle for where you are, my guests and I are here to tell you you don't have to. I speak to people who were once where you are and are now living their purpose, and I want to encourage you to live your life to the fullest. I am your host, Sylvia Montgomery. Let's take a listen to our next guest. Welcome to another episode of Streamin with a Purpose. I'm your host, Sylvia Montgomery, and I am so excited that you are checking out today's show. Today's guest is the president of the Saint Investment Group, Nic DeAngelo. Nic, how are you doing today?
Sylvia, I'm doing great. It's great to catch up with you a little beforehand, and I'm excited to have some fun and talk about good things today.
Awesome. I am as well. So I'll share a little bit of information about Nic. As president of the Saint Investment Group, Nic DeAngelo leads a veteran team acquiring institutional grade real estate assets nationwide. Their 20 plus state portfolio, 24 projects, and 500 plus loans showcase their strategy driven prowess, with Saint Investment Group on track to raising more than $100 million a year. Those are some very impressive numbers, Nic.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been able to help a lot of people that we've enjoyed working with.
Awesome. So Nic started this company because he wanted to level the playing field by introducing investment strategies with core elements that leverage the power of many and allow everyone who wants to participate in the opportunity to grow their wealth with long-term strategies that have stood the test of time, thereby bringing exceptional opportunities within reach for the entire investment community, from beginners to seasoned pros. Saint Investment Group invests by two foundational beliefs, and that is that Wall Street is broken and real estate is the cure. I love that. I love that. I love that, Nic. And I also like that you also work with beginners. So yeah, that's a great thing to know. So we'll dive into that a little bit to see how people can get started. But Nic, the conventional way, when I think of real estate investing, what comes to my mind is purchasing property, fixing it up, and having a tenant who may or may not pay every month on time. So when you say real estate is the cure, is the conventional way still the way to go?
I think so. I'll put it this way. Wall Street has been a great opportunity for many Americans for many years. And I think that there was a big opportunity to invest in exactly what Americans wanted over, let's say the last 30, 40, 50 plus years. I think that's changed. I think that's changed a lot. If you look at a lot of the data, you see that since 1995, the stock market has declined over 40% with the amount of companies that are in the stock market. And if you see something very interesting, you see the trend that private investment has expanded by over 6 times. So when I say Wall Street's broken, I very much believe that. The biggest concerns I have, I think, are the businesses on Wall Street, that are traded, the publicly traded companies are overvalued. I think that they're not innovating to the same degree. I think it's largely led by just 7 companies out of 500 on the S&P 500. The rest are lucky to be making 2 to 3% annual returns. So if you look at all that, where does the average person go? And I think real estate is the best opportunity for cash flow, for appreciation, where that property is going to gain value over time. I think there's high odds there. And I think there's some good tax benefits for people that say, hey, I work really hard. I don't want to be working full time on this or that or the other. I want to diversify a little bit, but also get some tax breaks for the average person. I think it's a really good opportunity for that.
Sounds like you have some really great strategies in place to help the average everyday Joe to be in a better place, position themselves in a better place, especially for like when they retire. So which one happened for you first? Was it the real estate or just investing overall? And how did you come upon making this your business venture?
Sure. So I got my start working construction, Sylvia. So I was a day laborer, more or less. I dug ditches, I picked up heavy bricks, and I built retaining walls for 10, 11, 12 hours a day. Tough job, not the most exciting, and it was hard. It was just really hard work day in and day out. So I knew I didn't want to do that forever. I knew I wanted to get to something that was maybe a little more air conditioned, and I could work with more people, and with bigger opportunities. So I was lucky to see some people through Google searches and through my network and trying to find people that were already in real estate. More or less, I offered to work for them for free, kind of in free time, and to do some free projects with them that would make them some money, like leasing properties and doing some marketing. And that grew over time. I grew those relationships over time, and eventually I got to work with some really high level people that were both mentors and friends and partners on deals. So I've gotten to see everything from square one, where I bought a house in the wake of the global financial crisis, and that was a tough deal, and I could barely make the payments every month, all the way to now where we're dealing with a couple $100 million, or about 211 million that we're working with today. So we've worked with everybody top to bottom.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So, how can a beginner get started in this particular business?
Sure. So there's two ways. The first is a decision, right? The first decision is, do you want to do it yourself, or do you want to invest with somebody else? So do you want to be active and you want to go buy the properties or do the deals and navigate all that and navigate, the market and leasing and handle all that on your own? And there's big opportunities there. Or do you want to invest with a company that does it? So we want to fill that gap for people, is the opportunity to invest with a company that they trust, that they like what we're doing. But if someone wants to do it themselves, the best access to it is going to be something that they can afford, right? So in that realm, typically you're talking single family houses, which isn't a bad thing. We deal with a lot of industrial today and commercial real estate, which are much bigger projects, $20, $50 million projects. Those are very exciting. But the reality is, the way that we're able to do that is working with a lot of investors, having a lot of invested capital, a lot of track record. If someone's just getting started, the housing market is an amazing opportunity. We find that it's one of the strongest in all of real estate still to this day. You're dealing with very high home ownership from baby boomers. They don't really want to be moving that much. If you look at the statistics, many of them are already locked in at low rates. So it's a very stabilized industry. It's a very stabilized asset class. So if someone was looking to invest, what I would suggest to them is be finding deals that are close enough to them that have some degree of cash flow. So that's going to be different for every market. I couldn't speak to the every market in the country, but those deals are out there. They could get some cash flow out of it while they purchase that. There are many amazing programs like an FHA loan and others that have minimal down payments. So if they can put that together and they can find a deal that cash flows, I think they're for a great opportunity. And as we see, now we have a president that really wants to lower rates. They're putting pressure on the Federal Reserve to lower rates. So if someone were to buy a house and rates go down, that's a good opportunity for them to have a locked-in rate that they can refinance and make more money at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. As you're talking, Nic, I can hear some passion in your voice, and I go back to doing your intro, where your whole purpose in starting this company is to level the playing field. Can you tell me how what you do translates to you living your purpose?
Absolutely. So early on, I got to work with some family offices, very wealthy families that were multi-generational wealth. And again, very good mentors, very kind people that really wanted great things in the world. One of the things that at that time of the market, 15 or so years ago, plus 15 plus years ago, were foreclosures. Our country was crushed by this foreclosure crisis. So we were buying a lot of deals at discounts, and that was very good. The investors were happy, our partners were happy, but it's a tough business, and you have a lot of tough conversations along the way. Sometimes it involves evictions, sometimes it involves giving a lot of people an update of something that's really bad, that they're going to lose their property. I didn't like that side. So that piece of it never was something that I really loved about the business, even if it was 100% on board, and even if it was really great for the economy overall to get these properties back to market, et cetera. What I wanted to do personally was shift to a model where we could help people. So the name Saint Investment Group, the reason that we do that and the real new business model that we do today is we buy mortgages where people are missing payments actively. Banks don't want these mortgages. They want to sell them off at a discount to someone else that will deal with them. So on our side today, what we get to do is work with homeowners that are missing payments, restructure their mortgage, restructure their payment structure, et cetera, and keep them in their homes. So it's kind of the opposite that I used to do. And so I'm really happy with that. I think home ownership is very important in the US. I think owning real estate is very important. And as equity builds, oftentimes homes are the most valuable investment that a family will ever make in their lifetime. So I think that's really important. And I'm really, really proud of our team and what we're doing to be able to support that.
Oh, that sounds great. And as you were talking, initially, my mind went, it'll go someplace, but then you put it back on track for me, I believe, because you said that you buy people who are consistently late. And the first thought I had was, how is that going to help anyone profit on the investment side if they're investing in that? But then you said that you actually work with them to get them back on track. So my question is, because I'm still trying to just sort of educate myself on all of these various investment opportunities, and real estate is one that has, I think, quite a few layers to it. Um, should one invest with you, they would be investing in opportunities like that. And that's money that they would make from investing in properties. And we're talking single family homes,
That's right.
correct?
That's right. So in real estate, and I don't want to get overly complicated, but there's a couple ways to invest in real estate on a big scale. One is you buy the properties and you buy the address 123 Main Street, and it's four walls and a roof, whether that's, a house or an apartment building or a retail center or whatever the asset is, and the type of asset. The other way is you can invest into the debt of real estate. So the amount that the property owner owes. So what we do, and what our model is to really try to help more people and shift to more of a supportive role of homeowners, is to be buying mortgages where people are missing payments or are not paying at all. And so what that allows us to do is work with them and keep them in their homes because we're very conservative with what we buy. So oftentimes, very consistently with our purchases, people will have 50% equity in their homes, right? So if you're talking a $400,000 house, they might have $200,000 sitting there. That's a really big deal for these families. That's a really big deal for these families. So many companies might move to foreclose and they get to keep that equity if they foreclose on that. On our side, we'd rather just have them keep making payments, work out a solution of where they can be making payments, and that benefits the homeowner. It benefits the bank because they get to sell off these mortgages that are too difficult for them. Their job, a bank's job is to originate mortgages. They want to create loans, right? So if they can sell off mortgages that are not paying or in default to a company like Saint, we can work directly with the homeowners and keep them there. And then it also benefits our investors. They get a good rate of return at the end of the day. So we really like that model. That win-win-win model is something that's really core to what we do and why we do it. And we try to keep that for any investment that we're looking at, is to keep that, because at the end of the day, one, it's doing something good for the world. Two, it motivates our team to do great work because they know they're helping people day in and day out. And then three, at the end of the day, our investors really, really like being part of a solution to something for our country. I'm a big fan of our country, so are our investors. So it just really, really, really is a good fit for us.
Mm-hmm. I love that model. It sounds awesome. Now, you had said so yourself even earlier, investing, it can be a little complex, right? A complicated business from time to time. And I'm sure that there were challenges along the way, as every business has challenges with what they're trying to do with their mission. What gave you the endurance to keep at it, to get your company to the multi-level, to the multi-million dollar level that it's at today?
For me, it was that I always wanted something bigger, right? Again, I'd already done construction. I knew what that was like. Okay. I knew that wasn't a good fit for me forever. So I started investing very early on. Again, back then, stocks and, there were some other opportunities, but real estate always was something I had my eye on. That's always where I wanted to be. So the number one thing was just being super clear with myself on exactly where I wanted to be, and then figuring out where I wanted to be and working my way backwards of what steps I needed to take to get there. I
Mhm.
knew I needed to surround myself with better people. I knew that. The people that I grew up with, the people that I was around, they were not the people that would take me to the next level and give me the most opportunities to make the most impact. So once I got around those people, the successful people, I would have done anything. I worked for free to be around these people, right? So that's how important that was to me. And it paid off dividends massively. So those were the early steps. When there was the hard times, it was always taking the lesson out of it. So we had, for instance, we had a deal that we bought with a really good discount. It seemed to be a really good opportunity. The partners were very happy. Everybody was very excited for the deal. But the issue was, it was a very, very difficult property. It was a mixed office retail use. So people would go in and they'd, buy snacks in one place, and then there were attorneys in another space, and it was this kind of jumbled mix in a weird area. And what we found was we needed to learn how to dig into economics better. So that was our lesson. So now if you see, we do webinars pretty regularly. Most of what we cover is economics, because that was a lesson. That deal almost didn't work out, right? So now we are obsessed with understanding the reasons that we should be making certain investments. What do the numbers show? What's the data show? What's the economy show on that? So those hard lessons along the way and learning those quickly, you make positive you're never going to learn it, or you're never going to make that same mistake again in the future. And when you're not making those mistakes, eventually you level up just by pure experience, whether it's, making errors in judgment or, different mistakes along the way, because you want to get to your goal. So I'm maybe stupidly obsessed with getting to where I want to be on certain things. I knew what it looked like to have a job that I didn't want. And so for me, it was getting as fast as possible to the right area, to be around the right people, and learning as quickly as possible, and being obsessed with the education along the way.
Wow, I love what I heard, even right from the beginning, Nic, when you talked about being around the right people. And I think that is so crucial when you are working toward your purpose or on your purpose journey. When you're not around the right people, things could go awry, because if they don't understand where it is you're trying to go, what it is you're trying to do, how important purpose is to you, and they're not on their purpose journey, they're just doing whatever, living life day by day. It can really make a difference in your mindset, and it can easily cause you to want to quit, right? Because everybody else is over here doing this, and I'm over here, doing much more, some really extra challenging things, while everybody else seems to be living a simple life. It makes you want to go back to living the simple life, but that is what purpose is all about. Purpose is hard. It's not easy. And I think that when we realize the mindset that we need, it'll just encourage us. It'll drive us to want to be around the right people. I heard you say that you would work for free to
I
be
did work for
around these
free. Yeah.
individuals.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's how important being around the right people is. So that was really something great to hear. I just think that we need that type of encouragement if we're going to go to that next level, take our lives to that next level, and do that thing. And then again, you also, spoke about, you've already worked jobs that you didn't want to continue working. So there's nowhere else to go but up, and you're trying to figure out how to get there, right? When but Nic, and honestly, most of us will spend 20 years on a job that we don't even like. We hate getting up in the morning, going to it, but we continue to stay there. But with your mindset, you decided early on, I'm not going to be doing this forever. I'm not doing this for a long time. As a matter of fact, I don't want to do this anymore. So what is it I would prefer to do? And I think that when we can figure that out about ourselves, that again helps to drive us to get us to where we want to be.
Absolutely. And I think, part of the process for me, they call it imposter syndrome. I never felt
Mhm.
that exact way, but I felt a similar way. And it was this big shift of one, I was too young at the time, right? I was a young kid in my early 20s doing things with people that were generations ahead of me. So I always felt at a place early on. And what came to realize and what I had to understand was the reality is there's never a right time, right? You maybe feel too young, maybe you feel too old, maybe you feel too inexperienced. The reality is getting involved and getting moving is the process, right? And that you can educate yourself all you want. That's extremely high return on investment to be absorbing a ton of education, but doing is always going to be the best education. And if you're doing both, I think you're really truly unstoppable. I really actually believe at this point of real estate and, entrepreneurship and being all kinds of, being part of all kinds of business groups, the amount of people I've seen succeed have far, far outweighed the amount of people I've seen fail, because the people that I've seen succeed all have the same things in common. So that's why it's important to be around the people that you want to be like. It's the old joke of the 5 people that you're closest to, you're going to be, whatever they are. I think it's even more dramatic than that. I think it's dramatic to the point where you want to be around people that are better than you, and then you feel like you're falling behind, because that is a focal point. That's something that hones you in on your goals, and seeing them doing great in the categories you want to be great in. I think that's amazing. And then when it comes to an imposter syndrome and you feel out of your depth, that's part of the process. That's you expanding your comfort zone. And so each time that's the case, it's a call to you to level up. It's a call to you to get more education, to work harder, to be more focused. And then you absorb that situation. And then you got to find the next way to take the next step forward and be out of your depth and your comfort zone again. So it's an iterative process. It's an endless process, but it's something that I really, truly believe, especially in the US, anybody can take the steps to improve their life in that way, whether it's through investment or health or whatever else that is really important to them. These are big, big, big things that, I couldn't have made some of the progress through the hard times without those mindsets.
Absolutely. I have sometimes said, if I'm the smartest person in the room, there's a problem.
Absolutely.
I want to be around some people who are smarter than me and who know a lot more than what I know. So, Nic, what would you say that purpose looks like?
So for me, I spent a lot of time thinking about this. I have a bunch of kids. I have a very big family. So I have 3 sons, and then I have a family of 50 plus people in my extended family. So the big question was always, we're blessed that we have people across the board. Some are very successful in our family that have worked hard, started with nothing, and done amazing things. So we had good examples of entrepreneurs, and that was a blessing. What that meant was, now what? Now what do we do with that? Well, the people that I really respect and I see and on all that, what are the best examples of that? And those people always give back. It might be their church. It might be to causes that they agree with. It might be to ways that they see that the country or community could be improving from. And so if that's the case, I want purpose that hits the major categories of life. For me, it's health, it's wealth, and it's legacy, right? So it's health. I can't give the most to the world, to my family, to my kids, to my community, if I'm not the best person that I can be. So I got to wake up. I got to go to the gym. I got to eat healthy, right? That's basically the health side. I got to connect spiritually. I'm faith-based on many things that I do. So I want to make positive. Those things are aligned. So for wealth, I'm doing it every day. I work way too many hours. I focus on really big things. It's a passion of mine. It's something that's really exciting. I read books constantly. I read a 500-page book about the US dollar, right? So I'm a weirdo, right? I like what I like, and I like economics and investing and business to a very high degree. So wealth is a big focus, because if I have the means to help other people and to give back and to do things and support things that I really believe in, then I can do it. And then the last is legacy. It's that pouring into my kids, giving them support, giving them the opportunities to give back to the world, and then also supporting causes and things that will make the world a better place. For me, on the cause side, on the legacy side, it's always going to be education. I think that entrepreneurs in this country are the best class of people, the best opportunity to make this an amazing country. And so if there was ever free education, we fight about this all the time all over the government. Do we give away education, whatever? If there's anything we should be giving away without a doubt, I think it's financial information and entrepreneur information, things about running a business, things about starting a business, things about starting those opportunities. And I think that would pay infinite dividends. So those are the causes that I'm looking at for our country, for my community, et cetera, to be able to pour opportunity into, to be able to invest into over the long term.
Awesome. Awesome. That all sounds great. And what I heard was everything that you can do to help others. It's all about helping others, the country, your family, beyond the family, everywhere you go. And that's what purpose looks like. It looks about really helping others and being of service to others. And, I hear that in everything that you just said. Nick. Now, what would you say to someone who wasn't sure if they were living their purpose?
I would say the number one step is to identify what that means to them. Because I think they can, I really truly think that anybody can get anywhere that they want to go. I think they can do whatever they want, but they can't do everything that they want. Right. So I think people can do anything, but not everything. And so if they focus and they identify what they're going for, whether that's to make an impact in a certain way, whether that's to make money in a certain way so they have more to give, whether that's to impact their family and be the right parent or brother or sister or whatever that they want to be for their local, family and community, et cetera, it's just identifying who you want to be on that. So for me, I'm very obsessed with that. I take a lot of notes. I spend a lot of time because I want to be clear to myself. This is me talking to me in the mirror, right? And so if I'm clear on that, I know I can get there and be really focused. And it also helps with saying no to the things that you should be saying no to. Because if you know who you want to be, if you know what you want to be doing, then it's real easy to see something that's not a part of that. And so I'm equally as focused on where I want to be as focused as what I don't want to be and what I don't want to be doing. So I try to balance those two.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that, I always felt that when you know your purpose, then it makes it so much easier to say no, right? Because it's that purpose that helps to keep us focused, right? Yeah, awesome, awesome. Do you have any other tidbits about purpose that you'd like to share?
Absolutely. I would say the other is going to be have high standards. I would say have high standards. Most importantly for yourself. Don't take second class work from yourself. Don't take, B-level effort on things because it's really robbing you. Every day that you're doing that, you're taking opportunity away from yourself. And what I think about sometimes and what I really kind of spin my wheels on is if I had just been focused more for the last 1, 2, 3, 5 years, where would I be today? And that drives me nuts. That keeps me up at night, right? I'm really proud of progress that we've made, really proud of my team, really proud of the people and the investors we've been able to help. But how much more could I have done? And so that leaving something on the table is always something in my head. It's something that I'm obsessed about improving on that side. And then the other is how can I focus more? For me, at one point, I was running 5 businesses and they were all doing okay. And that was something that I got a lot of passion out of. It was very exciting. I was always learning new things in different areas, but it was a huge distraction. So I'm one of the people that's saying, hey, look, don't do side hustles. I don't think it's the right move, honestly. So if you have for instance, for an average person in the US, if they have a job and they're making money doing that and they want to invest, then this is their main job. And then this is their investment route. And that's it. Right. But starting, this company and then managing this and then doing that, I've seen more people fail by lack of focus than I have by people that failed doing what they were going after. And so seeing that, just that huge degree of focus, I kick myself in the butt every single day to be focused on what I need to be doing, the best things we need to be doing. I think that the next 10 to 15 years in the US have more opportunity for entrepreneurs, for investors, et cetera, than we've had in the last 30 years because we're dealing with huge swings. We're dealing with AI. We're dealing with new investment opportunities. We're dealing with $82 trillion that the baby boomers have that as they pass along, sadly, will be going into our economy in the places with the biggest opportunity and into different businesses and into different things that people are going to be buying. That's a massive opportunity for people that sit here today and want to make their lives better. And I think that now is the perfect time for people to be getting going and taking advantage of that because as that money trickles into our economy, it can go to them. They can make good things out of it and they can do good things with it.
Hmm. This has just been awesome information, Nick. I've loved listening to you. You're such a great motivator and educator. I remember you saying something earlier about webinars. Are these educational webinars that you do?
Absolutely. So one of my passions is education. It always has been. Again, I read a ton of books. I'm always trying to learn more about what I do, more about the broader world. I really like economics. So I want to understand our country. I want to understand how businesses work within the country. So we do economics-based webinars. We focus on different topics along the way, and we go really deep. So we just did a webinar on the US dollar. we're right now we're the reserve currency of the world. The whole world uses the US dollar, right?
Mhm.
Is that going to stay? Do we have another 100 years, another 1,000 years? Is that going to go away soon? Right? We have a upcoming webinar on the future of US housing. So what's going to happen in the housing market? We're in one of the biggest affordability crunches of housing in US history. So we're going to be diving in on some really interesting stuff there. We've talked about the stock market. And each webinar that we go into, we give investors opportunities to, one, ask questions at the end. We have a live Q&A, but we can just sit and talk about whatever the individual wants to. But we also give them opportunities for things that they can be taking action on to be making their investments better, making their lives better, taking the data and the things that we just showed them and applying it to their lives. So that's a huge passion of mine. I'm doing this research anyway. So if I can give people my research that we're already doing, in-house at Saint or me personally, then it's just a huge win just to give people the tools that we're seeing in the market to make their lives better.
This is all awesome. How can people who may want to join in on your educational webinars or learn more or get more information from you about your investment opportunities, how can they reach you?
Yeah, the best way for people to get involved with us, to see our webinars, they're 100% free. All the reports that we write, all the things that we give away are 100% free. They can check those out at saintinvestment.com/resources. There's a mountain of amazing, amazing, amazing information there for people to learn across the board. And then if they wanted to invest with us, they wanted to make money with us, the information's on the site also. We pay up to 12 to 14% returns, and it's backed by real estate. So it's a really interesting investment in today's market.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nic. I do appreciate you being on the show today. You've given us some awesome information, a lot to think about, and growing the interest in investing. I wish you all the best in your future entrepreneur journey.
Sylvia, I had a great time catching up with you as always. I'll talk to you soon. And yeah, look forward to catching up soon.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You have just listened to Streamin' with a Purpose with your host, Sylvia Montgomery. Thank you so much for listening and continue to stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, bye-bye.